Melvin Burgess was born on 25 April 1954 in Sussex, England. He was an extremely dreamy and shy child. After a school career of ups and downs, his father decided to fill out an application for a job as a journalist at a local newspaper, where he realized that writing was what he wanted to do with his life. Over the next few years, he wrote intermittently and supported himself with odd jobs. After a couple of years, he moved to Bristol and then to London, where he lived into his 30s, and decided it was time to roll up his sleeves and make writing a profession. Initially, he wrote short stories and radio plays, then moved on to children's fiction. Junk, a novel published in 1996, baptized him as one of the best teenage authors of his generation. His subsequent novels featured traveling and street kids. In 2001, he signed the literary adaptation of the film Billy Elliot, based on the screenplay by Lee Hall, and this is the book that I decided to analyze. Inspired by a true story of the dancer Philip Mosley, this book is about an 11-year-old boy orphaned by his mother, who lives in a small town in the northeast of England, with his father, a striker worker, his brother and his grandmother. A series of coincidences introduce little Billy to dance, and he fell in love with it because it was completely different from the brutal reality in which he lived. In those days, unfortunately, this discipline was considered purely feminine, and in fact his annoyed father encouraged him to attend box lessons at the gym. But he learned from his teacher that he soon no longer attended the class because he was attracted by the performances of ballet girls. Intrigued and encouraged by the teacher, Mrs. Wilkinson, he took a test and even started to train at home, hiding from his family. His father prohibits him from attending the dance class, and Billy Elliot, very angry, shows up at the teacher's house, discovering that the woman practiced this discipline to take his mind off life problems, offering him private lessons. After countless misadventures, strikes, the arrest of his brother Tony, and Mrs. Audition, the father finally accepts his soon great passion. A few years later, the father and brother will all be together at the performance of the now grown-up Billy in the most famous and important theatre in London, where the choreographer will present for the first time a performance on Swan Lake, where the dancers are all male, introducing for the first time in classic ballet the theme of homosexuality, indicating that the time is now ripe for it to be accepted in society, and that there are no male or female roles in dance. The film, after its release, decidedly long after the screenplay had been written before filming, saw the publication of a novel treated from the screenplay, thus changing the traditional novel screenplay film sequence to dock to a novel that comes to life not from the film but precisely from the screenplay. In one of these critiques, Melvin Burgess explained the significance of this transposition of the film into a novel. It was the Chicken House Publishing Company that advised him to write a novel. He accepted immediately, and the first thing he asked himself was, what can a novel add to a film? So he chose to write in the first person so that he could empathize the characters' deep and problematic experiences, thoughts and feelings. The film gives us the word and actions, while the book gives us the interior and minute details of the story. The book explores all these aspects of life that are unfortunately not visible throughout the images of a film. The author explains that he chose to analyze above all the male world in all its aspects, because in Billy Elliot it is about men and boys, about being a man in a purely male-dominated society. So in the book we find the experiences of his father Jackie, we find his brother Tony fighting for his future, his friend Michael trying to fight with his sensitivity, and Billy following his dream of dance despite his family's rejection of a strictly female discipline. Therefore, the book tried to explore the male roles by choosing to leave out the female parts. Art and sexuality seems to have a strong connection throughout the book, and this is no coincidence that her teacher used dance to cope with the lingering sexual frustration in her marriage. Both involve the expression of identity and being throughout physical bodies, and how both are linked to the complex politics and history of gender and behavioral norms. A broadly open view of sexuality in the book is represented when the friend Michael kisses Billy. He states that he is not gay, a somewhat defensive comment, no doubt influenced by the homophobic environment in which he lives, but he still accepts the gesture and still maintains a strong bond with his friend. Towards the end, the appearance of Michael dressed in expressive clothes and with a male partner sitting next to him consolidates the theory of continuous and deliberating social change. The book examines the social circumstances of the time, which are at odds with the protagonist's desire, out of the ordinary and the thinking of that era, to become a ballet dancer. Billy faced many of the prejudices of the time, which he fears and tries to avoid. Dancing, being a discipline for women or for homosexuals, was seen for those who practiced it an absolutely derogatory way. In all its context, the blocks of people also emerge, who must follow their own inclination regardless of the stereotype of the society they belong to, which unfortunately influences individuals, yet somehow manage to maintain their own freedom just as Billy does, thus preserving their own identity of choice. Billy Elliot inspires people to choose their own path, even if it is difficult and unconventional. He conveys a strong message of being true to oneself and preferring happiness and freedom over ignorance and closed-mindedness. It is a bundle of teaching and reminds us that dreams and passions can become reality, our everyday reality, and that we can very well assert ourselves and fulfill ourselves without subjecting ourselves to the negative comments and unrealized plans of the people around us. Although more than 60 years have passed since his first appearance, the story of this awkward and secure boy, but with great inner strength, is still as relevant today as ever. Sometimes one chooses new paths so as not to run into the limitations that are created by going down roads already known and traveled by others. But sometimes it is impossible to live with these already known choices, as they might go against who we are by not bringing out our true nature and lead the life we really want to walk in our shoes, even if for little Billy they are ballet shoes.